Hi Neil, and welcome to your session here at Swim Therapy on the 19th of March 2009. I'm going to have a look at your front crawl to begin with for the purposes of your triathlon. This was your first warm-up set from the 4 camera angle view to begin with. Okay, first of all, when we go around the camera, it's extremely important with that over the water from the top here we get a good look at the recovery of the stroke, and that really has two purposes: obviously to conserve energy for the pull underwater, and secondly to position the hand in the right place for the start to pull. You've just got to be careful you're not overreaching your centre line on entry. So the point of entry is extremely important, because if we put that hand too far across, we're going to cause the body to snake by pushing water sideways, so trying to get the hand back in the right position. And if we do start the pull with the hand too far on the inside of the elbow and shoulder, you tend to disengage the larger muscle groups from the pull. So it's very, very important that we don't see those hands sort of aiming in towards the centre line. And part of that is the path of the recovery of the arm. If the arm is always swinging very, very low and round the side of the body, it makes it very, very difficult to avoid any momentum that's going to carry the hand in towards the centre line. If you can get the hand travelling from the back of the stroke to the front with a high elbow, keeping the hand closer to the side of the body, you'll find it easier to send the hand forwards rather than in and across. This camera angle also gives us a little bit of a clue to your head position. Certainly looking down and forwards during the non-breathing strokes, which is good. But when we come to breathe, there's a noticeable lift of the head. We can see, before that head is even ready to turn, we're looking almost straight down the pool. Now, that's a position that unfortunately we have to be in to breathe on breaststroke and on butterfly, because the arms are working symmetrically. The beauty of front crawl is that because one arm is working after the other, working independently, it means that we can breathe to the side. And that's why butterfly and breaststroke are both slower than front crawl in terms of speed. That's why the world records are slower, is because the lifting of the head above the water is going to sink the hips and legs into a deeper position. Now, we never ever want to be in that position in full stroke front crawl, sighting like that. We've got to try and breathe to the side, but at the moment it's a huge lift of the head initially before the hand enters, and then a real turn of the head across to the side. And we see the head far, far, far too above the water on this side. See that turn there. So that's something we certainly need to look at straight away, and that was having a massive impact on body position. The legs were really, really sinking at the back of the stroke during that stage of the stroke. During that part of the breathing cycle. And as a result, you were struggling then to get your hips back into a good position before you took the next breath. And that's always going to be a problem when you're breathing every two. So really, we need to try and make that our primary focus, and get you to try and breathe a little bit close to the surface and maintain your body position as you do it. So, kicking exercises are great for this. We've just fitted you out with a pair of training fins here, just to help with the position of your feet. If you find it difficult getting your toes pointed, then you're always going to push a lot of water forwards rather than back. So keep working on getting your toes as pointed as you can. But this drill involves, first of all, having one hand on top of the float, one arm on the side, which means that this elbow is very, very bent. It's on the surface of the water, and you can breathe into the crook of the elbow. We're always trying to keep the head very, very low to the surface of the water. Now, on this particular turn of the head, we can see that you haven't actually taken any air in, because you haven't brought the chin round and across enough. But in terms of keeping one goggle in and keeping the top of your head in the water, that is actually a very, very good head position for the breath. You can see as you lift up further, you just tend to take that goggle out of the water. Now, your challenge is trying to keep your forehead in, but bring your chin further round. And if you can achieve that, we're going to see you get really, really close to the water with your breathing. And as a result, that seesawing effect of the body will mean that your legs won't be as deep in the pool, which is great. Because as soon as those legs drop like that, they're going to be putting the brakes on. They're going to be creating drag. And I thought that was a big improvement. You can even see you starting to use the side of your mouth rather than the whole of your mouth. And that's what the really, really good freestylers will do. It's also very, very important, if we're going to have a very, very sneaky breath over the surface, if we're going to have a breath that that involves a very, very minimal turn of the head, that we're breathing out under the surface. If we're trying to exhale and inhale over the top of the water, you're going to have to turn the head much further. So we need to make sure we're getting rid of that air underneath. And I think at the moment there's a very, very small trickle through the nose. The nose compared to the mouth is a very, very small vessel with which to get rid of water, particularly if you've got a little bit of a cold. So maybe try being a little bit more explosive with your mouth and getting rid of some of the air through your mouth as well. And then you'll find it easy just to turn the head and inhale rather than doing any exhaling over the surface. The stepping stone between that drill and full stroke, we were using catch-up. Now catch-up is a drill where we have one arm catches up with the other. Pretty self-explanatory. So we've got the left arm has just completed its arm cycle, then the right arm is going to pull, followed by the left. Now the beauty of this drill is, first of all, you're not generating as much lift with the arms because you're not pulling as often, so you've got to use your core and your kick better, and this encourages you really to over-kick per arm cycle. In good front crawl, we're looking for 6 kicks per arm cycle. You're doing anywhere up to 10, and that obviously is good practice for your leg kick and for your core control. You can see the hips wanting to sink and the back flexing there. If the back does hyperextend, obviously your hips are going to drop into a deeper position, so it's very, very important that you use your core muscles at this point to try and keep your hips as close to the surface as you can, and when you do breathe, you're trying to keep your head in the water as much as possible, and that's something that you certainly improved on when we compare this to what you were doing in the warm-up. Very, very well done indeed, Neil. It was a real step forwards, because for the first time we actually saw your right ear in the water as you turned to your left-hand side. No longer were you looking at the front of the pool first and then to the side. You're controlling the breath much better. Still think it's turning too far. We shouldn't be looking towards the back corner of the pool at this stage. We should be looking along the surface towards the camera. And the only way you're going to change that is by thinking about pressing down with your forehead in the water as you do it. And this is really the key to one goggle in, one goggle out breathing, because if you can keep the forehead in the water, then the bow wave that's hitting the top of the head is going to always be creating that trough by the side of the head to breathe into. Now, this is a little bit more difficult in catch-up because you haven't got the same sort of speed that you will have in full stroke, but the principle is exactly the same. So always use your fins when you're trying to achieve this, because it's always going to make it easier to get a little bit of wave going at the top of the head, and therefore create that trough to breathe at the side. And we can see that at the moment you're finding it difficult to try and create that trough. There's a little bit there, the bow wave just starting to clip the top of the head. We can see that water level is lower by your ear, but at the moment there's not much of a trough because there isn't maybe as much speed there, so it's going to be more difficult. So the harder you can kick and the better you can kick in these drills, the easier it's going to be to breathe. But certainly a good improvement there, much closer to the top of the water. And as we can see, at the moment you've still got your mouth closed, but there is no danger of you swallowing water at this point. The only time you're going to swallow water is when you've got your mouth open and you're putting your head back into the pool before you've finished inhaling. That's why you'll swallow water. It's got nothing to do with the position of the head. So it's got to be a sneaky breath and then get that mouth closed before you put your head back in. That's really the key. And when we went back to full stroke, I think at the start it was a good improvement. So first of all, the legs are kicking in a much better position. They're certainly not as deep in the water as you saw them before. They're doing most of their kicking just above the top part of the grey section of the pool, which is good. Before we saw them dropping a lot lower than that, and that's because you weren't turning your head as far. That was particularly noticeable. But towards the end of the set, things did start to creep back into bad habits, and this is what you've got to be very careful of, is that feeling of rhythm and thinking it feels very normal and very natural, because if it does, you're probably slipping back into bad habits. And this is going to feel very awkward in your neck to start with. It's going to feel like every time you turn your head you're going to be swallowing water, because again here towards the end, now we can see that left ear out the water again, so that was too big of a lift, and the one at the end is very much back to bad habits, this very last one. You see there, you've actually lifted the head out the water with the goggles looking towards the front of the pool, and then turn your head. So it's very easy to slip back into old habit, old muscle memory. So if it doesn't feel awkward with your neck, if it doesn't feel like you're close to swallowing water, if it doesn't feel like you're pressing down with your forehead as you turn the head, you're always going to be lifting it a long way again, and that's going to have a massive impact on body position. So very well done today, Neil. If you do have any questions at all on anything that we've worked on today, please don't hesitate to give us a call or an email here at Swim Therapy. We're more than happy to go through anything with you. And really that breathing is, and as a result, body position is the big priority. If you want to come back to us in a few months, check how you're doing, then maybe we can get on to the pull and the kick in a little bit more detail. But take care and have a safe journey home. See you soon. Bye bye.